The year is 2018. Donald Trump, a man who measures his success in Twitter likes and casino square footage, decided to launch a trade war. His target? China. Because, trade wars are easy to win. China, not exactly known for its love of losing, fired back. They slapped tariffs, which are basically taxes on a whole bunch of American goods. But one sector got hit particularly hard: the U.S. auto industry. Ouch. This wasn't just about money, this was strategic. China knew that hitting the U.S. where it hurts, in its big gas-guzzling heartland, would send a message, and boy did it ever. Now, American car companies, they used to rule the world. They were like the Beyoncé of the automotive industry. But then came China, with its billion-plus consumers and a growing appetite for cars. American automakers saw dollar signs and set up shop in China, building factories and selling cars faster than you can say supply chain. Everything was peachy, until it wasn't. You see, those tariffs that China slapped on, they made American cars in China more expensive. And when things get more expensive, people tend to buy less of them. Economics 101, folks. So why target the U.S. auto industry? Well, it's not rocket surgery. First, it's a huge part of the American economy. Hitting the auto industry means hitting American jobs, American factories, and the American pride. Second, China knew that American car companies relied heavily on their Chinese factories. Those tariffs? They messed with the whole supply chain, making it more expensive and complicated to build cars. Third, China wanted to protect its own growing car industry. By making American cars more expensive, they made Chinese cars more attractive to Chinese consumers. Clever girl. Sticker shock. The price of protectionism. The term protectionism might sound like a good thing, but it often comes with a hefty price tag. Let's dive into what happened when tariffs were introduced. So, what happened next? Well, those tariffs started to bite. Tariffs, essentially taxes on imports, were meant to protect domestic industries. But they also made imported goods more expensive. American cars in China got more expensive. The added costs from tariffs were passed down to consumers, making American cars less competitive in the Chinese market. Chinese consumers started buying fewer of them. With higher prices, many turned to more affordable local or other international brands, leading to a significant drop in sales for American automakers. And American automakers felt the pinch. Reduced sales meant lower production volumes, which in turn led to layoffs and reduced hours for factory workers. But it wasn't just about car prices. The ripple effects of tariffs spread across various sectors, affecting the prices of many consumer goods. The uncertainty of the trade war made investors nervous. The stock market thrives on stability and predictability, and the trade war introduced a lot of volatility. They started pulling their money out of the stock market, especially from the auto sector. The fear of prolonged trade tensions led to a decline in stock prices, particularly for companies heavily reliant on international trade. Because who wants to invest in a trade war? The constant back and forth between the two largest economies in the world created an environment of uncertainty and risk. The trade war was like a bad game of chicken, with both sides refusing to back down. Each side hoped the other would blink first, but in the meantime, the global economy was caught in the crossfire. And guess who got caught in the middle? The American consumer, that's who. Higher prices on everyday goods, from groceries to electronics, meant that the average American family had to stretch their budget even further. China shifts gears, homegrown brands race ahead. While the U.S. auto industry was busy getting sideswiped by the trade war, China saw an opportunity. They poured money into their own car companies, encouraging innovation and technological advancements. And you know what? It worked. Chinese car brands started producing some pretty decent vehicles, they were cheaper than foreign brands, and they were improving in quality. Chinese consumers, already feeling patriotic because of the trade war, started choosing homegrown brands over foreign ones. The tables were turning, and the U.S. auto industry was starting to look a little vintage. Rare earth rumble, China's ace in the hole. But wait, there's more. China had another trick up its sleeve: rare earth metals. These aren't just any metals, they are the backbone of modern technology. These rare earth elements are essential for making all sorts of high-tech stuff, including electric cars, smartphones, laptops, and even advanced military equipment. Without them, our tech-driven world would come to a grinding halt. And guess what? China controls most of the world's supply. In fact, they produce over 80% of the global rare earth elements. This gives them a significant strategic advantage. It's like this. Imagine if one country controlled all the chocolate in the world. Chocolate lovers everywhere would be at their mercy. They could basically hold the world hostage for chocolate. Now, replace chocolate with rare earth metals, and you get the picture. That's kind of what China can do with rare earth metals. They have the power to influence global markets and even political decisions by controlling the supply of these critical materials. The trade war made it clear to the U.S. that relying on China for these critical materials was a risky bet. The U.S. realized that their dependence on China for rare earth elements could be a major vulnerability. It was like betting your retirement savings on a game of rock, paper, scissors. The stakes were incredibly high, and the outcome uncertain. This realization has led to a global scramble to find alternative sources and reduce dependency on China for these vital materials. Wall Street-wrecked investors hit the brakes on auto stocks. The auto industry, once a darling of the stock market, is now facing a rough road ahead. Remember those nervous investors we talked about earlier? Well, they weren't exactly lining up to buy auto stocks. The sentiment was overwhelmingly negative, and the reasons were piling up. In fact, they were selling them faster than you can say bear market. The sell-off was swift and brutal, leaving many to wonder if the auto sector could recover anytime soon. The uncertainty of the trade war, the tariffs, the rare earth metal situation, it was all too much for investors to stomach. The geopolitical tensions were creating a cloud of uncertainty that no one could see through. They didn't know how long the trade war would last, who would blink first, or what the long-term consequences would be. The auto industry, heavily reliant on global supply chains, was particularly vulnerable. And when investors get nervous, they sell. It's a knee-jerk reaction, but it's also a protective measure. They want to cut their losses before things get worse. And when they sell, stock prices go down. It's a simple equation, but the impact is profound. Lower stock prices can lead to reduced confidence in the market, creating a feedback loop of negativity. And when stock prices go down, everyone freaks out. It's a vicious cycle. Panic begets more panic, and before you know it, the market is in free fall. The auto sector, once a symbol of American industrial might, is now a cautionary tale of how quickly fortunes can change in the stock market.